My Hills Have Eyes moment in Texas.
Oh, six.
I've never actually watched The Hills Have Eyes.
I haven't either. And also, a lot of people are flaming us for not knowing what The Corpse Bride was.
I've never watched that either.
Thanks for the comments, people. That's been one of the most heavily commented videos we've had.
When did we mention The Corpse Bride?
It was one of the movie Am I the Asshole premises. Before
we didn't mention A Corpse Bride because we didn't know what it was.
We didn't know what it was.
What was the question?
No, remember when we did like Am I the Asshole movie titles?
Oh, yeah.
One was Mulan, and apparently the second one was The
Corpse Bride.
Yeah.
And none of us knew.
That's Tim Burton, right?
Tim Burton.
Yes, Tim Burton.
Now I know it's Tim Burton.
Apparently we have a lot of fans of it, which kudos to you guys. I've never watched it. Animation creeps me out, so I just don't want to watch it.
If you're rich, watch party. Let's do it.
Oh, damn. Now I will do it for that. Okay, fair. I'll do it.
If you pay me, I'll watch Borderline anything.
Oh, okay.
Are you sure about that?
I said Borderline.
Okay. All right. Well, the story goes as this. In 2010, I was driving from New Orleans, Louisiana to Eugene, Oregon. It was just me, 24 female, and my 2-year-old pit bull in a 14-foot U-Haul truck with everything I owned crammed into the back. A fancy flip phone and my printout MapQuest directions.
Oh, yeah.
I do not miss those.
I don't either.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I miss one turn on fuck, baby.
I used to get to soccer every time, and we always missed at least one turn every trip.
Rough. I think the first smartphones actually came out around that time, but I didn't have one. Cell phone service was also much spottier, and there were long stretches through the desert where I had zero service for hundreds of miles. That would be a nightmare for me nowadays.
Yeah, honestly.
I was driving a lonely stretch of highway through central Texas when I realized I hadn't seen a town or exit for a very long time, and my giant U-Haul was really low on gas. Just when I'm starting to freak out and seriously run out of gas, I see a small town coming up. I pull into this town and it is tiny. I was so worried about other things that I never did pay attention to the name of the town. But there were only about 6 streets in the whole place. I go gas up and am ready to get back on the road. Except I cannot for the life of me find my way back to the highway. I circle the town about 4 times and start getting so frustrated because this is such a tiny town. How the fuck can I not find my way out? I can literally see the highway, but can't get into it. I returned to the gas station to ask for directions. Now, when I got gas, I paid at the pump and never went in. When I enter for directions, there's a skinny, nondescript guy who has black hair hanging down in front of his eyes that looks like it could use a good wash. Is that like a emo hair that he got going on?
Probably.
Sounds like it.
Pop punk era.
Yeah. He's not particularly creepy, but a little rude. He never really met my eyes, and he was looking down at a magazine. He gives me directions that don't sound right at all. He's telling me to take a road that will get me to the highway in about 17 miles. For a moment, I am dumbfounded. Then I point out that I didn't drive that far to get from the highway into town. Why so far to get back to the highway? I can literally see it from the town. He is so casual, almost like I'm just an annoyance and can follow his directions or not. Why should he care? He gives me some explanation about the road curving around that doesn't really make sense. And he still doesn't look at me. Just whatever. I gave you your directions and waved his hand in the direction of the door. When I got into the parking lot, my whole body started trembling violently and my heart started racing, seemingly for no reason. I get into the truck and as soon as I put the key into the ignition, I burst into tears. I had the most terrible feeling that no matter how nonchalant he acted, this man has bad intentions. I didn't know what, but I knew right then and there that there was no way I was going to follow his directions.
I don't know if I'm just like oblivious, but I would just be like, oh, there's a teenager who just doesn't give a shit about what's happening with me on my drive. You know what I mean? Like that would have been my thought, but I don't know. I'm also not the most observant person sometimes.
People's gut feelings are crazy strong sometimes.
For sure. Yeah. I would die, I think, in this situation.
Same. Contractually, me and Sean will die first.
I'm always going to be the last one.
That's just the rule.
That's the rules.
Yet, this was the only store in this little town, and short of knocking on doors, and they put no thank you, There was no one else to ask for directions. And I decided I didn't give a shit if this town seemed like something dropped out of the Twilight Zone. I was going to drive around until I found my own way out, even if it took all damn night. Then a big red beater of a pickup truck, as much rust as metal, pulls up and disgorged the quintessential Texan man. Huge, husky, and in flannel and work boots. Josh, are you Texan?
No.
Without even thinking about it, I jumped out of the truck and approached him quietly, yet warily. Looking into his eyes, I saw a kind human being, or at least I was hoping I did. I asked him if he could please give me directions to the highway, and I told him I knew it was silly, but I just couldn't seem to find my way back. He looks concerned, as I was visibly upset, so he made me laugh and very cheerfully gave me directions for a hairpin curve turnoff right at the end of a small concrete tunnel I had passed several times. He said it often confused travelers because it was so hard to see, they need to put up signs, etc. With a sinking feeling in my stomach, I asked him how far in miles was it back to the highway. He laughed and gave me a funny look. Miles, miss? I'd say it's a quarter mile at most. You can see the highway right from here. And at this point, I couldn't help it. I had to know. What happens if I drive? And I gave him the directions the man in the store had given me. Texas looked at me very intently and asked me how I knew about that route. It was pretty far out and usually only locals know about it. So I told him. He was quiet for a few minutes and then just asked me what the attendant looked like and if I had a map of the state. Nope, just my MapQuest, which wasn't helpful in this situation. He goes to his truck and grabs a raggedy local map from his glove box. Spreading it out for me, he traces the route I described. The way the man from the gas station had told me to go led away from town, away from the interstate, and led to seemingly the middle of nowhere. Texas told me that the road did go about 17 miles right before it dead-ended in the desert.
Oh, fuck.
And I asked him what was out there. And he told me that it was nothing but some junk cars and a few trailers and mobile homes, all owned by the same family.
Ooh.
This family was known locally as troublemakers, meth heads, and alcoholics. And these were the nice things townspeople had to say about them. The clerk was part of this family and lived down that road. And I'll never forget the look in Texas' eyes as he told me this. He also told me that I was smart to listen to my instincts, and he told me to be careful traveling out there. I don't know if the man from the gas station wanted what was in the back of my U-Haul or what was in the driver's seat, but thankfully I didn't have to find out. Oh, and I learned that sometimes angels look like ruddy-haired Texans with scruffy faces and rusty pickups. Thank you, random Texan stranger. You really saved my ass, and I will remember you with tons of love. Sorry I didn't ask your name. You're forever Texas to me now.
Kudos to that one Texan, man. Right?
Yeah.
Right, Sean?
We're all not that bad here.
I mean, the guy who tried to lure her into it
Was also
that
Texan.
person?
was also
God damn
Texan.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, yeah, give it up for Texas, and then I was like, well, they're just gonna say the other guy is also Texan, which I would have no comeback.
It's 50-50, you know? But yeah, I mean, creepy, scary as hell. I'm glad she listened to her gut. Like I said, I would not be wise enough to avoid that. So
I feel like sometimes people have like insane, like I forget what story I was hearing. Probably John, you heard it too. I think it was on the Here to Help podcast with the Nick Miller host, where he mentions like his mom was just like, "Hey, you're not going to school today." And then,
yes.
and then he was like, what are you talking about? And she said, I don't know. All I know is you cannot go to school today. And then there was something like either a kidnapping or a school shooting or a fire.
It was a shooting.
Yeah, happened that day. And he was like, that was fucking insane.
Jesus.
Something. Yeah. So it's just, sometimes it just happens. It hits people. I pray to God whenever I'm about to do something dangerous that I get some sort of feeling, but also
not me. I'm oblivious as hell.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But also I feel like I'm pretty oblivious to things. So.
Yeah, same. So, well, we'll all be in the same boat.
Yeah, well, at least we'll be together, right?
Yeah.
Get therapy.